Hi there, welcome to soundeffects.com. I'm Stuart Shields. Today's video is all about this amazing pedal from Origin Effects. This is the RevivalDRIVE Compact. Now the RevivalDRIVE was released last year, and this is just a scaled down version, less confusing controls, a bit more of a simplified top panel, and if you're not familiar with this pedal, this does something very, very special indeed. Now it's not just a straight run-of-the-mill drive pedal. You're forgiven for thinking it is such. What this is an analogue model of a full signal path from a range of non-master volume valve amps. Now we all want that wonderful response behaviour of a traditional valve amp, but we don't really want the footprint of these big bulky pedals. So this RevivalDRIVE Compact does it perfectly. When I say there's a full signal path being modelled there, I'm talking about transistors that are very discrete that model the valves. There's even a model of a phase inverter, mains, power. There's a model of that. There's also some negative feedback, which we'll get into in a moment. So we're going to have a brief look at the controls. We're going to listen to the sounds, of course, that this can create. I'm going to go through some of the lesser obvious controls on the top panel here. Let's dive straight into it. So anyone that's seen the RevivalDRIVE before will know that this is obviously a very stripped down version. It doesn't have the two sides for solid state and valve, so this really does take up less space, less real estate on your board. Let's run through some of the controls and the top panel here, front panel should I say. Some obvious ones, obviously the output controls, the general output level. Gain controls, well, let's be obvious, of the gain, but the highs and lows are a little different. Now the highs, as we turn this up, this is going to control the highs but also the upper mids as well, so that really classic, maybe Marshall-like voicing. The blend is going to blend your clean tone, so your dry, unaffected tone with the drive. So if you have a really good, warm, clean sounding amp like the Deluxe here, you can actually dial some of that warmth in and then bring in that wetter tone. The lows, again, all these lows and this EQ curve here, it's all based on voicings from known amps. So if we want more of a Fendery kind of warmer tone, we can adjust it with the lows there. Now this is the one that I wanted to talk about, and this takes a little bit more explaining. So the more and pres here, pres stands for presence. Now presence is, as you'd expect, if you turn this up, you're going to get more presence. The more, as you turn this down, this actually refers to negative feedback. And this is a bit of valve amp kind of magic. And this refers to the signal feeding back to earlier parts of the signal path. Now that might not mean much to you and I, but the effect that it has is actually quite magical. When you turn this down, what we're going to hear when I demo this is more headroom. The frequency response is very different as well. So as we turn this down, we're going to get more of a kind of glassy, open, should I dare say, Class A sound. You can be the decider here and tell me if you think so. It's going to sound a lot more open, more responsive, and as we go up, we're going to come into the territory of Fenders. Going into the presence side of things, we're going to look at more kind of a plexi type JTM tone, and it's interesting that I'm running into a Fender Deluxe here, because if I can get this Deluxe to sound like a plexi, then the pedal is definitely doing its job. Now, coming down to this part of things, we've got this post-drive EQ control. Now this is really handy. We've got EQs 2, 1 and then preamp. Now the top one is kind of obvious, or it might not be obvious, but there's this just to use the pedal as a preamp. And I know there's a lot of name players, particularly like Joey Landreth, they run this in this particular setting, and what they do is they just drive this straight into a power amp, and then this pedal becomes your entire preamp. Because like I say, everything in there is analog modelled. Effectively, it's a self-contained preamp. EQs 1 and 2, they're really there depending on the amp that you're going into. So if you want to add a particular EQ curve, say I'm going into a very bright amp, I might pick EQ 1, and because I've got the Deluxe here and it's quite a warm sounding, fat sounding amp, I've chosen EQ2, which adds just a little bit of a curve to it to make things bite a bit more, and it's a great way just to instantly affect the overall output tone of the pedal. The adjust is to do a similar thing, where you're just taking this and then controlling this to really match the amp that you're going into. So you can dial in a particular voice for whatever amp that you're using. Okay, so we'll run through some sounds here, and because of the amp, I'm going to keep this on EQ2 because it just suits the Deluxe. The output we don't need to adjust. The highs, let's just have a quick listen to this. Now I'm going to take this brutally down so that we've got all the highs rolled off like a bit of a filter. Now, rolling this back up, you're going to hear that these upper mids kick in. And you'll also notice that when I've got these controls set, this is quite a transparent, clean sounding drive, almost like a clean boost. So those are the highs, we'll set that back to 12 o'clock. The gain, let's have a quick look at this in a very modest setting first. I'd say this is acting almost like a clean boost. So here's the gain down at about 9 o'clock. Taking the gain further up, it's going to start to break a little bit now. So, the blend's quite cool. This is going to be our clean, unaffected signal. Half unaffected signal and dry signal. And then full on pedal. Now the lows, obviously going to apply that extra EQ curve to things. So, much like a high pass filter. Okay, now we're getting into the big money stuff. So everything pretty much at 12 o'clock. I'll leave the blend full so we can hear the full pedal. When we've got this turned right the way down, it's that negative feedback that we talked about. So that really open, responsive tone. So this we're thinking like a kind of a Class A, Voxy type tone. Still going to be quite drivey though. And let's have this down to a moderate level. So right straight in the middle. And then turning the presence up, we're going to get that kind of plexy, bitey, Marshall-y tone. So there we go, the RevivalDRIVE Compact from Origin Effects. I love this pedal. I can think of 1,000 uses for this as well, so this would really be great to help me out of a spot if I turned it to a gig. And I was at the mercy of whatever amp they gave me. Now I'm quite a Marshall favoured guy. I like that kind of voicing and I like the bite. The idea that I can take a pedal that really behaves and emulates that amp sound and I can plug into a Fender, whatever else I like, or go direct, is a really great option for me. So check these out. As always, you can get more spec on the website, and I'd urge you to test out our Tone Buddy scheme, which is a £30 a month subscription service where you can pick from over 500 pedals that are in stock, not all at once, just one at a time. And this could be one of those. So it's really intuitive, great to use, would work well with any amp that you have at home. So check it out. I'll see you next time.